Hi, I'm Mary O'Brien, Director of Community Education for the Hastings Public Schools, and welcome to another edition of Unity Through Community. It's our monthly show that talks about what's going on here in Hastings, kind of through the community lens. So a little bit about schools, a little bit about what's happening in the community at large. This summer we had a great program. If you didn't have an opportunity to see it in action, that Hastings Family Service brought down to the community. It was called the Meals Program, and it was just a wonderful way to make sure that kids and actually families, anybody in the community, was able to have a healthy lunch every day. It's going on through the end of August. August 28th, I believe, is the last day. And one of the nice collaborations we had this year, and one thing I like to tell you about is something you might not know that Community Ed does, because you know our catalog, but you don't know everything that we do. But we are working in collaboration with the city and the Parks District to do the PITS program, Playgrounds in the Summer, which is over now. It was a great program. We had a wonderful summer. We were at Lyons and at Pioneer and then out at Hampton and Vermilion. But at our Lyons location, we also had the Meals program. So the Meals folks came into town and brought lunches, and then kids and their families were able to have lunch there in between the two times of the PITS sessions. And it was such a wonderful opportunity for our community. I had a chance to go up to our Savior's Church, which was one of the locations, for lunch one day, and just a terrific group of volunteers, people who really wanted to make sure that we didn't become a food desert for kids. I just read an article yesterday in the paper that former Senator Dave Durenberger wrote. Evidently there's some federal monies looking to make sure the kids get fed during the summer. And you know, sometimes we think, well, why would you even need to do that? And we just need to remember that not every child has the opportunity to have 3 square meals a day. Which, you know, sometimes makes me kind of sad to think that that's happening right here in our backyard. But those summer lunch programs are really valuable in making sure that kids get at least one good, healthy, nutritious meal a day. So that was a wonderful collaboration we had this summer that I really enjoyed, and hopefully you had an opportunity to see it in action. But now we're coming up on the end of summer. You know, so if you've heard me before, you know summer is my favorite season, and you know, I like the fall. Fall is good too. Winter, not so much, but you know, we'll hope that all the forecasters are right and it's not going to be a really hard winter. So coming into your mailboxes, if you haven't received them already, is our wonderful fall community education catalog. All sorts of great things for you to do. 2 things I just want to quickly highlight. Everybody anytime there's a transition, people think, okay, I'm going to do something differently. So in the fall, if you had really good intentions of getting out and walking and being active all summer and it just didn't happen, now in the fall you say, okay, now I'm going to do it. Well, Community Ed has a great way for you to put your toe in before you jump in completely. We have all of our fitness classes that we offer in the fall have a free try it session. So when you're looking in our catalog, you'll see that there's a free try it session. And you know, if you ever thought, well, you know, maybe you're hearing about bar. That's a big class right now, big interest for people. And you think, well, you know, I don't want to take a whole bar class if I don't even know what it is. Try it. You can take the try it session, and you can see if you enjoy it. And we have try it sessions for all of our classes. So as you're looking at the catalog, or you go online, www.hastingscommunityed.com, you can get onto our catalog right online. You can register online. So I hope that you'll think about that. The other thing that we're doing, and we've the last couple years focused some of our work through our senior center program on our 50-plus population. We know that that's that growing group of people, those of us of a certain age, that are 50 plus. And so this year what we're focusing on is the kinds of transitions that most people in their 50s plus go through. One is on being a caregiver. 1 in 4 Americans today is a caregiver for someone in their family or a friend. People oftentimes don't see themselves as caregivers. They say, well, I just go over once a week and help clean the house. You're a caregiver if you do that. So we have a number of classes for people who are caregivers, and then we have a number of classes for people who are transitioning into this latter phase of their life, who are, inevitably we're getting older, and there are certain things that pop up for us at that age. And so we have a number of classes that we've put together. The first one is coming up in September, and it's called So Here's the Plan. And the concept behind that is, I've heard so many people say, as they're caring for an aging parent or another relative or a friend, if we had had a conversation before they got sick about what they thought was important to them, that would have been so good. And I don't want to put my kids through what I'm going through with my parents. Okay, so if you don't want to do that, you have to make a plan. So this class is about the things that you should consider before you have a conversation with the people who are going to be involved with you as you walk through this journey of the last part of life. So I want to encourage you to think about that. That's coming up in September, and we'll have more classes that we'll talk about as things go. But one of the big things that happens in September is school starts. We're late start this year because Labor Day isn't until, I think it's the 7th of September, last day of the state fair, of course. And school starts on September 8th, and we're welcoming 2 wonderful new administrators to the Hastings Public Schools. So my friends Kyle Latch and Trent Hanson. Hi guys, how you doing? And Kyle, what's your role in the district going to be?
I'll be the principal at Kennedy Elementary School.
Okay, that's great. And Trent, what about you?
Assistant principal at the high school for the 15-16 year, and then athletic director starting with the 16-17 year.
Okay. So I know both of you have backgrounds with Hastings. Kyle, tell me a little bit about your background just with the Hastings community.
I grew up in Hastings, so I went to Pinecrest
Elementary
School.
I didn't know.
Oh yeah,
Okay, okay.
So Pinecrest was my elementary school all the way from kindergarten through 5th grade.
Okay.
Then I went to the middle school, the old middle school by where Green Mill is.
Okay.
And then graduated in Hastings High School.
Okay.
Went to college, and I was more involved in Hastings more recently when I ran for school board, and that has been a great experience the last 3.5 years. I learned a lot about the Hastings school system in more in-depth way that maybe I didn't realize when I was going to school, all the different pieces that go into play to make the system what it is and how great it is.
Right.
So that's all
the structures behind it. I remember that was because I had been I'd been in the classroom, and then I had been a community educator for a long time. And when I first got my first administrative position, I was like, oh, now I understand why we do things that way. So yeah, well, cool. And then Trent, what about your background in Hastings?
Yeah, personal and professional roots both. My family moved to Hastings when I was a 4th grader, and I'm a proud graduate of Kennedy Elementary.
Do they have a picture of him on the wall?
I don't know. I'll have to look for him now.
We'll have to look now, yeah.
Hopefully we got rid of those.
The Wall of Fame or the Wall of Shame. You never
We could add him still.
Picture might be in the principal's office somewhere. No, and so I was blessed to graduate from Hastings High School, and then was able to return professionally. I was a teacher, coach, and advisor at the high school here for 11 years.
Okay, what did you teach?
Health and Phy Ed.
Okay.
Yeah, did a lot of the weight room classes the first couple years, strength and conditioning courses, and then almost exclusively health for 9th and 10th graders through the latter part of that stage. But 11 years teaching and 13 years coaching in the system.
Wow.
Just great opportunities to learn and grow, and also give back and serve that community that we both benefited from as students and young people.
Okay, and I know, Kyle, we were talking earlier, you have a future Hastings student in your house now?
My wife and I have a daughter, Eloise, who was born on June 3rd. So
a
few more years until she's in the system, but we're excited that she'll be a Raider as well. My wife was a Hastings resident when she went through school too. So
Okay. Yeah, we've actually rebranded our preschool through Community Ed, and it's called Tilden Community Preschool, Home of the Little Raiders.
There we go.
So that's right. We'll have to get her in there. And Trent, what about your kids?
We have 4. 3 are of school age. So we have a son at the middle school. Ryan's in 6th grade this year. We have a 4th grader and a 3rd grader at McAuliffe, Jalen and Gavin. And we feel for Principal Esther and the staff, they'll have a Hanson kid at McAuliffe for 10,
a long
11, 12
time.
years.
Yeah.
Our youngest is 4, so she's a little stretch away. But 4 of them that we're proud to have involved in the Hastings system.
Okay. Cool. So tell me a little bit about your professional background. How did you get to, all right, so we know you graduated and you went to college and now you're a principal. How did that happen?
So I student taught in Cottage Grove, and I did that in the fall of a school year.
What were you teaching?
I taught 5th grade.
Okay.
And then I subbed a little bit in Hastings and in South Washington County Schools. And then in April of that school year where I student taught, there was a long-term position in the media center. So I took that, was able to do that through that school year. Then I was hired as a 5th grade teacher in Cottage Grove. Then I went to 6th grade at Newport Elementary for a while. And then I was 5th grade from then on at Liberty Ridge and Red Rock. But Liberty Ridge was the school in Woodbury that I spent most of my career in South Wash. So I had 11 years in South Wash. The last 2 years I was a student achievement specialist where I worked with 4 schools. I worked with 3 to 4 schools in Cottage Grove, and I worked with teachers looking at their data, working on interventions, collaborating with them on their PLCs, and organizing some of the testing structures that we do as well, and assessment.
All right, now just for the folks out there who are going, what's a what? What's a PLC?
PLC is a professional learning community.
Okay, and what happens there?
It's an opportunity for the teachers on a team, or it might even be cross-grade level teams that they select, and they get to have conversations. Most of my buildings were at least twice a month, where they could have at least 45 to 60 minutes where they sit down and share ideas, look at data, and plan instruction that would best meet the needs of the students that they have.
PLCs are something that excuse me, that came to me kind of later in my career, and I always thought these things were happening sort of informally, maybe in the teacher's lounge or in the office, but to put a formal structure to it and allocate time and tell teachers, we think this is important for you to look at the kids individually and not wait until you get this far down the road, but if you see something happening here that you say, okay, what can we do, and that you use that richness of wisdom that you have in your team. And
to be more planful, because maybe it is that the 3 of us are on a group, and we're having those professional learning community conversations, and it might be that what if we for 30 minutes during the day, what if we grouped our kids differently? Because you have 1 or 2 kids in your class, but there's 8 or 9 in Trent's class. Maybe we could just group them differently for that 30-minute chunk of time, and we're still owning all of the students in our grade versus it's just you figure out what you need to do. We can work collaboratively and work smarter and more efficiently that way too at times if we're sharing our resources and our time with students, that maybe we can plan and group things differently to better meet our students' needs too.
Okay, so is this your first time at being a principal?
It is.
It is. That's a lot of fun.
Last year I was part of my contract, point 2 of my contract in South Washington County Schools was an intern for a specific school, Great Cloud Elementary School last year. So I did have some experience working day to day with the principal there and doing administrative duties to help out the school there.
Okay. And Trent, this is not your first rodeo at being an assistant principal.
It is not. I have similar experiences with District 833 in South Washington County. So I had the great fortune of joining the inaugural administrative team at Eastridge High School in 2009, which was a 3rd high school being built within that system. So served as the activities and athletics director for 3 years, and then shifted offices and served as an assistant principal for the next 3. So had 6 years of administrative service and practice all at Eastridge.
Okay. And so your position is really interesting because last year when one of the assistant principals, Bob Majeski at the high school, announced that he was going to retire, the district said, well, we kind of know numbers are going down at the high school, but not enough yet that we don't need to replace Bob. And then at the same time, Tom Johnson, who's our current district athletic director, said, well, my day is coming. So the decision was made to look for somebody who could do 1 year as an assistant principal, but then would be able to step into that athletic director role.
Right.
So are you going to shadow Tom this year too, in addition to your duties as assistant principal?
Yes, to a certain degree, and it's a little bit of a fluid conversation between Tom and I on purpose. As I've expressed with him, I think most importantly, he certainly has earned the opportunity to have this next 12 to 15 months flow the way he wants it to.
Sure.
And so I want to be a resource for him, but I'll stay as far away from things as he wants so that he can function throughout the year. But we've talked about some strategic things just more towards the spring when there's some district and conference level meetings to kind of have more of a formal baton handoff between leaders.
That's really great, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll do some other service things throughout the school year with events where, as ADs know, it's very difficult to be 4 places at once.
Yeah.
So when I can backfill for Tom at different events or help out with things, I'll certainly be available. But to your point, I think it's a unique process that they put forward. Maybe a little confusing to folks until they dig in, but I think it also speaks to it gave the district leadership an opportunity to be purposeful about how they wanted some of the transitional flow to look. And again, it speaks to the character of the people that are ultimately retiring, that they can give the superintendent and the board and other folks opportunities to have those conversations in advance. So I'm just a benefactor of that process. So yeah.
Well, and I see in business a lot more businesses are looking to do that. So again, being of a certain age, there's a group of people that have been in the workforce for a long time, and I think education is not unusual, but there are a lot of people educated in any school system that have been there 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And as they leave, they take all the history with them. And in some cases, that's really good. It's like you kind of know. I mean, I'm sure that when my day comes, they'll be just like, oh, she did a good job, bye-bye. So, but I think being able to have, so what businesses are looking at is how do we do that overlap? And in a way that's respectful of both people. So I really like what you said about, Tom's got the opportunity to flow it his way, and then you get to stand back and watch what he's doing, and then the baton handoff is a really nice, good athletic metaphor. But works, that there are some things that, now you come to this meeting with me, and then on the way home we can talk about what did you see, what do you need, so that's kind of cool. Because you're in Fayette, did you play sports in Hastings?
I did, yeah. I tried a handful of different ones as a young guy, like a lot of kids do in elementary and middle, made a lot of different choices. But in my high school years was a football, basketball, track and field combo. And one thing this community has always advertised and supported is kids doing multiple things, whether that be in athletics or arts or whatever their interest may be. And so, again, had great leaders and advisors that encouraged me to try different things. So, I really enjoyed those experiences in those multiple sports.
So, Kyle, you're following Diane, who's Diane Smith, the former principal of Kennedy, who had been a long time in the district. Did she give you any parting words of wisdom? Because you had a little bit of overlap time with her, too, didn't you?
Since I ended school on a teacher contract in South Washington County Schools this last school year, we were done, I can't even think of it, sometime early June. Well, Eloise was born then, so it was a bigger time. But June 10th, I think, was our last day, or the 11th. So then I didn't have any more duties up there because we were off for the summer. And then Diane was going through June 30th. So I was able to meet with her several times to go through things. And we just talked about different things that were in play already for the school year. And she had different things, files and things that we were able to go through, electronic things that she had and in her file cabinet, and she could talk about it with me and kind of process. And I did find that very valuable because she liked it because she could kind of go through a little bit here, a little bit there. But I definitely benefited because I got to talk to her about that and kind of process some of the things that are going on at Kennedy.
Sure. So what are some changes that you've seen, since the time you were here in Hastings as a student, and now you're on the administrative team, and you had been a teacher and you went away and you came back. What are some of the things that you see that have changed, and let's focus on for the better?
I think one thing that I think Hastings is doing well is being very intentional with the devices or technology that we're using.
I agree.
In South Washington County Schools, they had technology when we were up there as well. But like every classroom in Hastings has a smart board, and then we have small groups of mobile devices that each classroom has access to as well. And I just think it allows every class to have experience using that at some point, probably even daily. But it's not necessarily one-to-one, because that can be hard to sustain over time. And so it's being very intentional, making sure the infrastructure of the wireless can handle all the devices, and being equitable where all the schools have some access to that. And I think that's one thing that stood out to me more recently anyways.
Trent, what about for you?
I think my mind goes to not necessarily something different, but maybe an evolution of approach in how the school district engages the community stakeholders. You know, something that I think has been a hallmark of the district for decades, and a lot of people really appreciate and take pride in when they send their kids to school here. But I think it's also how do you continue to activate that conversation with technology, for example, and you can leverage the mediums of cable TV and social media and other dynamics to make sure that you can continue to keep people as partners and keep them informed, and also bring them into the conversation when you need that support. And so again, not necessarily something different, but I think a purposeful evolution of things that continues as we look at things like Vision 2025 or other elements that just can continue to make the district better.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's something the district is working on, is looking especially at communication. You know, how do we share the good news, so to speak, with folks? Because you know, I think sometimes people have questions about how you're doing what you're doing, and if you start with, well, you know, those are really absolutely good questions, and here I want to tell you, this is what we're doing. So just even when you're talking about the technology, you know, because I think people compare and contrast. So, all right, in South Wash they have, you know, and we don't have that in Hastings, or in, you know, Rosemont they have, and we don't have that in Hastings. So that might be true, and rather than but, what we have in Hastings, you know, we've done in a very intentional way to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our community. And that's something that impresses me about the community at large, in addition to the schools, is that, you know, people really look at what is going on here. You know, what are the people here, what are the families, what are the children, what are their needs, and how do we best meet them? You know, and it might not look like 20 other places, but it shouldn't, you know, and that's, to me, that's always the joy of community ed, is you're supposed to take, you know, your dollars and say to your community, what do you want us to do with them? So that's pretty cool. What's one thing you're looking forward to as you start the school year?
Oh, just establishing relationships, you know, primarily with students, but also staff with a different role and a different lens. There's certainly a healthy percentage of folks that I've worked with before, or our neighbors or friends. And kind of reconnecting with those folks, meeting some new ones. But I think at the end of the day, we're here to help students grow and to serve them. And when I transitioned away from Hastings for a different role, students who are entering their senior year now were in 5th grade.
Oh, wow.
And so in some regards, my 6 years elsewhere doesn't feel like that long of a time, but then also when you put it in student years, you know, how you look at your own kids like, wow,
it's like
6
putting
years.
in dog years.
Yeah, that's a long
you know?
time. So there's just a lot of kids I don't know, you know, and there's a lot of connections I haven't made. So I'm just excited about that part, to learn about their stories and what their goals are, and just find ways to help them.
Cool. What about for you, Kyle?
For me, very similar to what Trent shared. Like even when he said he was a former Kennedy student, he had pride there. And as soon as I announced that I was going to leave South Washington County Schools, there were several people that that were coworkers up there that live in Hastings, and they definitely have a strong pride when their kids were at Kennedy, and they said it's a nice community feel, and they felt supported and always invited. So I just I'm excited to get the students there, and the teachers in the building, the families in the building, to feel that vibe, and just make it a little bit better every day and every year. And there's a lot of great things going on, and if we can do it just a little bit better as we go, I think that's what we're all about.
Yeah. Well, and I know right now, and I just want to put a little plug in, that if you're a parent out there who has a child who hasn't registered for school yet, that could very well be, and especially if you moved into the community, you've got to worry about a lot of stuff, and you know the schools are going to be there, but we're getting close now. And so if you have any questions, you can just call the district office at 480-7000, and they'll tell you what school your child should be registering at. There are people in the buildings now that could help with that. You know,
Especially starting on Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, especially starting on Monday, August 24th.
Yes.
And so it's a good idea to get them registered and get them set. And I know I used to always, when I was a parent educator in early childhood family ed, and as we did those transitions, I would say, you know, it's okay to go up and like play on the playground at the school that your child is going to go to. And if the building's not open, you can look in the windows and see what it looks like. And if the building's open, go on in. Go into the office, introduce yourself, you know, and ask if you could just walk around, because the more comfortable you as a parent get with that building, the more comfortable your child's going to get too. So yeah, and the high school is open all the time, and the elementary schools will be open again for everybody starting on Monday. So yeah, that's terrific. Well, I am just so thrilled that you guys are with us. You know, I hired a school board member to be our early childhood coordinator, so I'm in favor of that. You know, I think that works well, and I've heard just wonderful things about you, Trent. You know, people who have worked with you before, and we just had an opportunity the last couple days to be together as an administrative team and do some work. And I told our superintendent that was one of my takeaways was what a tremendous group of dedicated people we have who just want to make life better for kids and for families. And so when you have that, you have such a good solid foundation, and you can just keep moving forward. So so that's it for Unity through Community this month, and I hope we will see you at a community ed class soon. Take care.